Welcome to The Collective, where every conversation ignites a new perspective. Join us as we delve into the journeys of remarkable individuals, explore the art of growth, resilience, and the power of a shared mission as we strive to be better together. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Gold Mine. We have a very special show. We tried to get going last week, but we sorted it out. We got Dallas here, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. I am super excited for this one, and I hope everybody else is excited as well. Make sure you're doing the things like the show, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, do all that good stuff, get your emails whenever we go live, which is, of course, Wednesdays for The Gold Mine and Fridays for The Collective. Now, we're going to get right into the intros and then the conversation, but before we do that, make sure you're signed up for the reinforcement loop. That way you can stay in the loop with the newsletter every week about everything that's going on, and it's really good read, so I would definitely check it out. Hit the website or the links in our bio, all that good stuff. Other than that, let's get in some intros. Dallas, been a long time, brother.
Yes,
10,
sir.
15 seconds. Who are you? Where you come from? All that good stuff.
I'm Dallas. I'm a military or ex-military member. I served 18 years. I spent 6 years with one CER and did 2 tours with them, and then I transferred over to CanSoftCom, and I did 2 more tours with them. Retired in 2019.
Bam. I love it. And now straight up cowboy, just running leather and doing all kinds of stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So I'm once I retired, I became a professional saddle maker. So I make saddles, mostly full time. Being retired, I work as hard as I want to. But we also started an initiative called FNV Ranch.
Well, we're going to be talking about that today, so I'm excited to get into it. Shaun, how's the mountain treating you?
Yeah, things are good out here. Looking forward to this conversation. I've had 2 weeks of stored up questions that I've been looking to ask, so now we get to ask them. So looking forward to learning more about FNV Ranch, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's get right into it then. Dallas, break it down. What was the idea? What was the concept? Where did it come from? How'd you get started?
So when I served with CanSoftCom, I had the privilege of doing a packing course out in McBride, BC. And when I was on this packing course, I just kind of realized how therapeutic it was to be on horses in the mountains. And so once I retired and I met my significant other, and we both enjoyed packing horses into the mountains, and we kind of came up with this idea, well, why don't we start a pack trip program with an equine therapy nexus for vets and first responders? And we came up with that last year. And last year, then we, jumped through all the hoops, the legal stuff, and, all the advertising and things like that, and trying to figure out what exactly we wanted it to look like. And then this year we went hot with the program. We opened up our selection process to mostly CanSoft individuals, just as a kind of a trial piece at first. And then this September, we open up the selection process again, and it'll be open to first responders and CAF members writ large. So that's kind of how we came up with it, and that's kind of the idea.
Sweet. I like it. Shaun, you got any thoughts, questions?
Well, I sure do. I've got all kinds of questions, because today's show, for any of the listeners right now, what we're trying to establish is a spotlight on FNV Ranch. So at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, what we try to do is spotlight typically veterans that are engaged in the community that are doing good. So that is the purpose of this episode. So we're going to try to learn as much about FNV Ranch as possible. I'll give you my background in respect to horse packing. It's not that much. When I was a kid growing up in Grand Cache for about 10 years, every summer I'd go out with a guy called Wild Bill, starting from the age of, I think, about maybe 14 years old or whatever the case was. And every summer I'd go out horse packing for at least a week at a time out in the Wilmore Wilderness Park. And it would be kind of rich Americans that would fly up, and they'd want to go hunting or fishing or whatever the case is. It was real good rainbow up in the creeks and rivers in Wilmore, of course. And so we'd do that whole thing for a week at a time. And so that was a great way for me to sort of learn the bush and learn a lot more about horses and et cetera. But that was leading up to when I joined the military. The time I joined the military, I haven't had anything to do with horses since then. The whole Alberta boy, cowboy sort of lifestyle is long gone for me. So I'm only familiar with it as a kid. Of course, Chance, on the show, you've talked about equine therapy as being a real big help for you, and you've always been a proponent on the show. So this is a great sort of confluence of Chance's recurring theme of horsemanship is good. Dallas, you're here now saying the same thing. So I do know that it's a great therapy for a lot of people. Maybe we can dive into a couple of different trajectories of how it's good for veterans, and then maybe talk about the business as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gabriel, Dallas, what about horses works? Why does it work?
So I'm not the psychologist in this operation. That's my significant other. She's the psychologist. But there is a lot of scientific evidence to say that man's relationship with animals, be it dogs, be it a cat, be it horses, has got a lot of therapeutic effects. For me personally, I think it's mostly about having something more than myself to take care of. Like when you're out on the trail, it's a partnership between you and your horse, and you're looking after him, and he's looking after you, and there's a trust there that kind of breaks down a lot of barriers for a lot of guys. I know veterans, myself included, have got a lot of trust issues. So being able to trust an animal and then actually kind of investing yourself in that trust has a lot of therapeutic qualities. So that's kind of where I come from with it. Of course, my significant other, Ellen, she could tell you way more about it. She actually teaches equine therapy, or uses that as a therapy modality. And yeah, she could go on a lot farther than I can, but I just know what I get from it, and what I got from it, and what I continue to get from it. And that is the trust issues, and just having something else to take care of besides myself. Kind of gets me out of my head.
It's one of the nice things about horses, especially, I find, because they are, I guess, almost sentient. They're not really reliant on you. They'll be fine on their own, and so it requires a lot of back and forth. There's not so much a domineering position where you'd be, you could be with a smaller animal like a dog or something like that, being in charge of, versus having to work with the animal itself. Shaun, you got anything?
I do. So just building off of what you just said, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but so the most recent time I was around a horse or horses was just a few weeks ago, I guess coming up on a month ago, when I was out in Cardston, Alberta, visiting my friend, or our friend, Seb Lavoie. Of course, Chance, you were there. And Seb's got some horses, or Seb and Alex have some horses. And so I'd been on their farm for about 3 minutes, and I walked straight over to the horses, put my hand on the horse, and man, it was a good feeling, because it had been so long since I'd been around horses. Just that reconnection with the horse again. There's something special about it for sure. But what I will say, based on what I just heard from you guys, is it is nice to have something to take care of out there in the bush, other than just yourself. Like a horse is the example, and it's taking care of you. But the thing that I found as sort of an interesting point when I was in Cardston is, Seb, the one horse, and Chance, you were on the horse, it was a freaking big horse, man. And when you step up to that horse and you put your hand on it, like you've got to be almost on your best behavior, and you've got to be putting out the right vibe, because that horse is big. And if it doesn't care for you too much, well, there'll be consequences. So something that is interesting to me about horses is you can't just be a jackass, walk up to them and expect to get away with it. You've kind of got to like dial into the moment and be cool with the horse. And so there are kind of consequences. You just can't get away with your typical nonsense if you're around a big horse, is my thought.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Horses are kind of unique in the fact that they can feel your heartbeat from like 4 feet away. So if you're all jacked up and you're, nervous as hell, or like you're in your head and you're not really focusing on what you need to be doing, the message that you're sending to that horse is like, I'm all, I'm all jacked up. And the horses don't like that. Horses like calm people. They like nice and quiet, slow movements, because they're a prey animal, right? So they're not real keen on being around somebody that's all a bundle of nerves. They like everything to be nice, calm, cool, smooth, collected. And you're right. Walking up to a horse, and if you're not in the right headspace, that horse can feel it immediately, and that horse will not want to be around any of that energy that you got built up in there. If you're not on your best game, then that horse is probably going to let you know pretty quick. Either he's going to run away from you, or worst case scenario, boot you in the chest. They're very intuitive, and they're also very reflective, I should say. Like they reflect the energy that you are putting out, and they'll tell you right away if you're not in the right headspace and you're not on your best behavior, for sure.
Yeah, this is it's a really good reflective concept as well for for veterans, especially GWAT veterans, especially. I liken this a lot because when we were in Afghanistan, there weren't many times where we were directly on the offense, right? Regularly, we were on defense. We were constantly looking for IEDs or things like that. We were being hunted on a regular basis, and I think this is why it works so well for GWAT veterans, especially. But as you said earlier, veterans in general, anybody that's got a trust issue or anything that has a position that you don't want to be close to anything or allow yourself to be vulnerable in any way, horses are, as you said, mirrors, and they will show you that very quickly. And it is one of the interesting things I found, especially about pack trips, not only taking care of the animal, but having a set routine again, right? Like, you got camp routine. As soon as you hit there, you drop all your gear, you start setting up camp, you create this instant reflection point on the ride itself. So you get to ride somewhere, and then everything stops and everybody starts working. At least that's what I found. What do you think, Dallas?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I find that when I'm on horseback, I'm focused solely on what the horse is doing. I'm watching his ears. I'm watching him, how he's holding his head. Is he stumbling all the time, or is he looking around? Like, how comfortable is the horse? But yeah, that routine is also something that kind of comes up, because you're right. You do have your camp routine that you got to break into, but there's also, like, you got to water your horse. So you're taking time to just take that horse, find a stream or whatever, and water the horse, and then you graze the horse. So you got a lot of time to kind of sit there and just be with yourself. And again, if you're not on your best behavior, or you're not in the game, that horse will let you know pretty quickly, and he's not going to want to be around that. So it kind of forces a mindfulness exercise on you when you're with a horse, and you're taking care of that horse in the backcountry. Yeah,
there's nothing harder than trying to maintain a horse while jacked up in the mountains. If it's like it's insanity up there.
Oh, it can go sideways real fast. Like, you got the land itself that's an obstacle. You got wildlife that always throws a wrench in the cogs. Then you got the horses themselves. Maybe one horse doesn't like to be in front of another horse, or one horse hates a horse in the string, and so they're picking at each other. Like, there's all sorts of things that can go wrong in the backcountry, and I think that's one of the things that's kind of an allure for veterans, is that taking horses into the backcountry is inherently dangerous. And so there's always that kind of like air of danger underneath all the activity that you're doing, that can kind of rear its ugly head if you're not paying attention, or you're not doing the right thing. And having that little kind of tinge of danger, I think, is appealing to a lot of veterans. You kind of get that pre-game adrenaline, if you will, while you're out there, but you got to maintain your composure. You can't be freaking out, or you can't be, like I said, all jacked up on adrenaline while you're dealing with a horse. So yeah, it's an excellent exercise.
Yeah, I love it so much. Shaun, you got any thoughts?
Well, I do. So one thing that I learned when I was young on those week-long pack trips is, and still had a lot to learn about as a young kid, but you got to work, as Dallas said, you got to work pretty hard when you're out with the horses, and so it's really early starts and it's kind of late to bed. And given that I was like about 14, 15 years old, I was the gopher or the Joe boy. I was making all the coffee before anyone got up. I was gutting all the fish and like all the menial tasks. Those were my jobs. So I'd be up before everyone and I'd be in bed after everyone. And it was exhausting as a young kid. Like I had a lot to take on. It was pretty physical and pretty mental as well of a job. And just trying to put it all together by about day 3, I was so freaking tired that you've just got to like, you've got to fit in. You've got to like stop panicking or stop freaking out or stop getting crazy about trying to gut the fish faster or gut the fish better. You've just got to find a rhythm once you're out there after a few days, or you won't be able to maintain the pace. So one of the things that I appreciated, or the earliest lessons I got from those pack trips, was if you don't find the rhythm over the course of the entire trip, the trip is going to suck. It's going to suck for everyone. It's going to suck for the horses. It's going to suck for anyone who's there with you, and it's going to suck for you. The work is hard. You've got to find a good rhythm that teaches you about how to coexist with not just the horses, but with other humans around the horses. And it is a whole different world than just in your regular town doing regular towny stuff. Out in the bush with horses is hard work that eventually will teach you how to find a natural rhythm in nature.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, for sure. Like being, like you said, being out with the horses and taking care of camp stuff and all the chores that kind of come with that. You're right. For me, it takes probably like 2 or 3 days to kind of accept my my choices of going out into the backcountry and doing this, because it is hard work. It's exhausting. You know, you're up early and you're down to bed, and it's very rewarding though. But there was a point I was going to make on that. Geez, my brain, too much TBI.
I'll come back to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, to your point, and this is what I wanted to kind of point out, was the exhaustion is part of the game, though, especially when you're talking for taking vets out or doing retreats, things like that, getting people to have those reflective moments. I think it starts when people can't calm down. One of the best ways to calm them down is to be exhausted. They will calm down when you're exhausted rather than
that's right,
just being jacked up. And I think that's such a key point, because that exhaustion forces you back to the mindfulness again. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. You got to kind of dig deep, and like acceptance is a big thing for me. Kind of accepting where I'm at and what I'm doing, and how things are playing out. So after about 3 days, I kind of accept, like, yeah, I'm going to be tired. Yeah, I'm going to be to bed late. But that's one thing that we kind of instill on our pack trips, is that there's no such thing as timings. Like and a lot of the time, like I'll take my watch off on a pack trip, and then whenever you're ready in the morning is when you're ready. Whenever you step off is when you step off, because you're not, like, you can have all the greatest timings in the world, but then maybe your horse is being a little cinchy and he doesn't want to get saddled to that day, or or maybe he's hard to catch that day, or there's any myriad of hiccups that can kind of show up while you're out in the backcountry. So kind of taking your watch off and then not having any expectation about how quickly things need to happen, or how fast things need to happen, I think is an important thing, to just kind of let things go. I know being institutionalized by the military, timings are such a huge thing for me, and it causes me like extreme anxiety whenever I think I'm going to be late for something. But taking your watch off and just kind of being in the moment, super therapeutic. That's big medicine.
Oh, 100%. I love this. Now, we got a comment here. Dave Curver jumped on a little bit a second ago, and he said, years ago, I had my oldest son on some riding lessons. The benefit extended far beyond riding skills. He learned how to function with calm, slow, purposeful movements to connect with the animal. And I when you were talking about catching a horse, that can be one of the most frustrating, aggravating things you can possibly imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Because if a horse doesn't want to be caught, it's not going to get, like, you're not going to run it down, period. So it is is another one of those tests first thing in the morning, and you're like, oh, I got to go get my animal, and you're out there with the bridle and you got all the things, and you're like, no, working your way over to it, and it's just staying about 10 feet away from you as you ride up.
That's right.
It's aggravating. Shaun, you got any thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, it is aggravating if you're aggravated.
That's right.
And so it is frustrating if you're easily frustrated. But if you're centered and grounded, it's just the day.
Yes.
And I love what Dallas said about taking the watch off, because we shouldn't be injecting our own artificial rhythm into a natural rhythm called nature. When you're out there in nature with natural objects like horses, there's a rhythm, man, and it ain't yours. Your rhythm is one that you have to learn in your new thing called you're out in the bush for a few days with horses. And if that's new to you, what you've got to do is synchronize with it, not have them synchronize to you. And so I love the fact that you're taking a watch off. And I wish everyone could do the same thing. Leave the phone at home, leave the watch at home, leave it all at home, and just go out in the bush with horses for a few days and let things unfold in nature as they do. What it made me think of, Dallas, when you were talking about the rhythm of the day sort of tends to unfold. Unlike the military, we're meeting timings out there. You're just simply in nature. We were out in the middle of Wilmore, and the sun hadn't cracked into the canyon that we were sleeping in. There'd been a freaking grizzly all night sniffing around our campground, keeping us awake in the tents. And as a young boy, I was kind of freaked out by the super loud snuffling right next to my right ear. And so my sleep was crap, and got up. I still had to do all the early chores before I call them the men, the adults that I was with, before they got out of the sack. And so, like, I was worn out from not much sleep. The sun hadn't like entered into the canyon yet, so it was super freaking cold. But I was working on a timing in my head that felt right, but it was wrong, because if I'd have just waited another 10 minutes, the sun would have been in the canyon. It would have been so much better to make the freaking coffee and just a little bit of sun hitting me rather than shivering and wishing the sun showed up. So, you know, the natural cycle that you can live in just by being a little more attuned to the sun is now hitting the spot that I'm going to make the coffee. That's kind of what you got to do when you're out there, assuming that you don't have any hard timings to meet.
So I have a question then on that, is specifically, what was because you've run a pack track, one pack trip so far, right? What was the thing that, like, you noticed after the end of that trip? You did your AAR, all that stuff. What changed in you?
On that pack trip, I learned a lot of patience. I also learned that it's not always going to turn out the way I wanted to turn out. And it kind of goes back to that whole timing thing. Being aware of what time it was, or how long something took, or how long the horses had to eat for, or how long they like to drink water for. You know, like, you can't be in a rush. There's just no room for it out in the wilderness, especially like Shaun said. You're on nature's timing. You're not on your timing. And so that was one of the things that I kind of realized, is like, I can't have any preconceived notion about how this is going to go. You know, through experience, you kind of have an idea, but, you know, like, anything could go wrong. A lot of things can go right, but that's pretty much what changed me the most, was just understanding when you're dealing with other people that, you know, like, that you have an expectation of things, and sometimes those expectations just aren't met, or maybe they're even unrealistic. So kind of letting all that go, and just kind of being a little bit more mindful and present, and just rolling the dice, essentially, just letting it kind of happen. it's super liberating.
This is a beautiful thought in my head. But Shaun, you got anything before I jump into this?
Well, I got a story about
You go
how
ahead.
Okay, so when on the first time that I went out with Wild Bill and the horse packing gang out in the Wilmore, it was like day one, and one of the tourists or one of the guests that was out there for the entire trip handed me a bag of chewing tobacco, and so I've told this story before. I'd never been around chewing tobacco. I didn't know what it was all about. I didn't know what the rules and conditions were. So I just grabbed a scoop of it, just like, he said, just grab a scoop and put it in your lip. So I did. I put it in my lip, and then I handed him back the bag, and I'm up on top of my freaking pretty big horse, man. And of course, I'm swallowing because no one said,
Ooh.
don't swallow. And so, it only took a few swallows, as everyone can imagine if they've ever been in this scene before. And all of a sudden, the world started doing the spins, and then fell straight off the horse, landed on my silly head. And kind of when I pulled it back together, I just had like men, grown adults, standing around me, looking down and having a good old laugh at my expense, which is perfect because I've never forgotten the moment, because it stood out as like, I don't know, there was something about the moment that just felt like right. It felt like pretty epic, even though I was to some degree the butt of the joke. No one was being mean spirited about it. It was just like almost, I'll call it um, almost moving from a boy to a man to some degree. Though I wasn't a grown ass man, I wasn't like a little kid anymore. I'd passed the crucible of swallowing, chewing tobacco, and so it was a thing. And I think that one of the great things about being out in the bush with horses, with a kind of a diverse crew, is that someone's going to have a chewing tobacco moment. And it might not be chewing tobacco, it'll be something else, but it'll be a moment that stands out for them as, to some degree, so unique that they'll never forget it again. And so that is one of the great things about these kind of adventures, or these almost expeditions or hero's journey to some degree, where you're in the thick of it, and that thick is something you've never been in before. And that's where sort of some of life's glorious moments are retained. And some of the biggest lessons we ever learn is being in that unusual, uncomfortable, unpredictable moment that next thing you know, you've swallowed too much chewing tobacco and your head's spinning. I would never, ever trade that memory for $1 billion and what I learned at the time. It taught me not just something about that moment, but it taught me something about the rest of my life, that those moments are the moments that I really enjoy.
Got any thoughts on that, Dallas?
Yeah, for sure. That's something that we aim to expose our participants in, is rites of passage. And I think that chewing tobacco moment is definitely one of those rites of passage. And every time that you kind of go out into the forest like that, or in that environment, you have these little rites of passage. I remember last year when we took the pilot project out to the we went out to the Wilmore. We staged at Rock Lake, and the very first day that we're just saddling up, getting the pack boxes loaded, and a grizzly bear walked through the camp like 100 meters away. And I remember everything stopping, and we were just sitting there watching this grizzly bear, trying to figure out, like, if we have to do anything about this, what are the horses going to do? There's other people in the camp, what are they going to do? Are they going to do something stupid? So there's all these little rites of passage that you kind of get exposed to when you're out in the wilderness on nature's time. It's something that we want to deliver to our participants. And you know what? It's one of those things that we can't even plan. Like it's something that it's just going to happen. And those rites of passage are really important, because those people are going to come away from that pack trip, and that's all they're going to talk about, or many years down the road, that's all they'll remember, is that chewing tobacco moment. and that's really going to stick with them. And you know what, like, I think there's always something to learn from that.
Totally agree. And that grizzly bear moment, that chewing tobacco moment, and actually kind of funny because I had a chewing tobacco moment with you specifically in the field because you were the one that gave it to me on my first on our
Probably.
first exercise. It was pretty hilarious. But to that point, like I think the one thing that's really sticking with me throughout this whole conversation, as I think about horses and the wild and how you have to manage your being in those moments, removal of time, removal of a lot of constructs that we have in our everyday lives, like we have to have groceries and we have to have these things and so on and so forth. But there's a naturalness to it. You have to return to a natural state. The time doesn't exist, and well, timings don't exist, and having the natural world just move around you without any sort of external engagement on our part is what's really sticking in my head. I think this is a beautiful thing to kind of dive into. Shaun, you got any other thoughts?
I do. So now I'm going to say this cautiously because I don't want it to be misconstrued. I don't want anyone to twist it into a negative, but it could be twisted into a negative to some degree. So, as I said, when I went to Cardston, within a few minutes, I was straight over to the horse, put my hand on the horse. Seb was there and some other people. And you know, the comment was, look, the horses love you. And so, and that is the case with when a dog runs up to you. Someone will say, oh, my dog never likes anyone, but somehow they like you. I'm not saying that I'm unique. I'm sure that happens to tons of people. But the reason I'm referencing that is if I'd have stepped up to the horses, put my hand on the horse, and the horse would have freaked out, or the horse would have ran away from me, or whatever the case is, the dogs didn't like me, then you're now being viewed through the filter, as it were, of you're not cool around horses, or the horses don't like you. And so you can be to some degree evaluated or judged, or as criteria, you can be examined as, whoa, that guy's got issues because the horses don't like you. I'm not saying that. But horses can react in a way that indicates something about you. And anyone who's standing around will see that. And so I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. It is something that does happen. And so what to do with that moment? Because if the horses would have freaked out, Seb could have looked at me and said, dude, you're unsettled. Or he could have said anything. He could have said along the lines of, the horses run away from everyone. And so the horses are, to some degree, a reflection of who you are. But then everyone who's standing around seeing that reflection is also making some assessments as well. So it's an interesting angle that I don't want to put a negative spin on, but it is a thing. So I'm curious as to what you guys think.
Yeah, Dallas, what do you think?
Well, I think that is probably one of the main contributing factors to a equine therapy psychologist is the reaction to the horse to the person. And if you have a fairly, like, a generally kind horse, a horse that's always curious about people and whatnot like that, I think that the reaction the horse gives to a certain individual, I think, can be fairly telling for a psychologist in order to determine what's going on with that person, or maybe not necessarily what exactly is going on, but that something is going on. And you know, whether it's fear of large animals, whether it's you know, stress from the day, blah blah blah. But I think that's fairly telling, and that can be used as a tool. So it's not negative at all. I think it's definitely something to be aware of, and something that can be taken aboard, and something to learn from. But I think if you use it as a tool, you know, even myself, if I approach a horse and the horse tears off like in a mad panic, I know that I need to reground myself, recenter myself, and come at it less aggressively. And your body language to a horse is super telling as well. Like, I find I don't know if you guys ever round penned horses, but sometimes when you round pen a horse, You're trying to get him to move around in a circle. But when you want him to back off and you want him to come towards you, you got to shut that predator look off of your body, and you got to kind of show a little bit of submissiveness, something that's not so predatory, and let the horse come to you. Because otherwise, if you're putting out that predator vibe, that horse is going to be pretty reluctant to come to you. So I think it's definitely a tool, something that you can grab onto and fix if it needs fixing, or just something to learn about yourself.
Yeah, I could not agree more. It is 100% a tool. Round penning a horse is fantastic for that, actually, because you do have to. One of the best ways to do it is to like put your head down completely, stare at your boots, and let the horse kind of do its own thing. And the horses will usually come and inspect. They're curious animals, and they're gregarious by nature, like we are. So they will eventually, as long as you can center yourself, as you said, to be able to bring yourself back down to a level that is a natural vibe. And I'm gonna harp back on this natural state thing, because it is such a key thing. One of the best things I had was when I started training horses. So I was doing equine therapy beforehand, and then I started training horses as well. And just the basics of it, I mean, it is the most mindful moments that you have to have. You have to go into it with zero expectations of success. You have to go into it with, like, you're just going in here, I'm going to do my best and see what happens, and then kind of react to it from there. It is such a beautiful moment when you can get a horse to do something that it has never done before, or you can get it to lay down or put its head down. But those things require you to step out of your own predatory mindset of, I want this to happen. So it is 100% engaging. Shaun, you got anything else?
So when we were in Cardston, of course, Chance, you know this moment. I was trapped in an office writing a book with Seb. As you trotted by on the horse, I looked at you in the window, and you were kind of giving me one of those ha ha moments. And so it was so good to see you going past that window in what I would call your natural environment. Like, you looked like you were part of the horse. You looked like you belonged on that horse. That horse looked like it belonged with you. You were both moving together so well. And it's not that I'm that much of a horseman. I'm definitely not. But I've been around him enough over the years that I kind of know when someone is moving well on a horse, and you were moving really well on a horse. And so that was really good to see. But, when you take that moment and then contextualize it against your daily life in Edmonton as an example, and, how well you're moving down the sidewalk versus on the horse. And so I'm not asking you to contextualize those things. I'm just saying that you were super stoked to be in that moment on that horse, feeling like you were owning the moment. At least that was my perspective of things. So what is it about that moment that namaste, everything, the universe came together in that beautiful moment? You were feeling like it was perfect. And then you get off the horse and bam, it's different. So is there context to that for you?
For me, yeah, absolutely. Especially when it comes to horses, it is as Dallas put earlier, it's a partnership. So it's not that I'm moving on the saddle right. It's that him and I were moving along the ground right. So when you step off a horse, now you're on your own again. And I think this is similar to when you go on a trip, or you go to do a retreat, or you get, whatever it is people will do, go on a canoe trip or something. It separates you to a point from your standard everyday life to make you reliant on something else, whether that be a boat, whether that be a horse, whether that be the mountains, whatever it is you're going to do. But if you don't take the moment, as you said, you don't accept the moment for what it is, and like, I'm going to own this one particular second, it'll disappear, and then you'll never see it again. And it's it's crucial to be able to know that you're there, but that only comes with experience. I'm sure, when Dallas, when you first went on that pack trip, when you were still in, your first couple of days, you were like, what is all of this? It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of information. All of a sudden you're around horses, you're in the mountains, all these things are happening. But through reps, through time, through the evolution of it, you can slowly kind of catch it for what it is. If that makes sense. You got any thoughts, Dallas?
Yeah, for sure. I remember how I felt when I first initially started out on the pack trip. That was my very first, well, not necessarily my very first, but my first in a long time pack trip. And I was pretty nervous, like I didn't know the horses very well. I only mildly knew my own horse. I was ponying a horse, which I hadn't done extensively before, and I was fairly nervous. And I remember it took probably 3 days for that to kind of go by the wayside, and then actually start enjoying myself. I was extremely tired the first 3 days, just because I think of the stress of it all and trying to figure out where I fit in and what I needed to do, and how this whole packing thing works. But once I kind of got used to the idea that I wasn't in control and this pony is kind of in control, I have a little bit of say about what he wants to do, but um, ultimately, like, you're along for the ride, and you kind of got to relinquish your got to relinquish control, and that's fairly liberating, and a very hard thing to do for some people. So yeah, it was transformative, like I suggest everybody try it at least once in their life.
Yeah. Yeah. Riding horses in the mountains is one thing. Living up there for a week is another. And then packing all that gear in and out is a whole nother ballgame. Shaun, you got anything extra?
Well, yeah, there is the other layer of where Dallas is doing it in this part of the world, and kind of Wilmore Wilderness Park. Like, the Wilderness Park part is there for a reason. It's freaking wild, man. The terrain out in Wilmore is really, really wild terrain. It's almost frontier land wild. And so when you get out in these areas, and I doubt it's changed much since when I was a kid, when you get out there, you're reliant on you and whoever's with you. You're relying on the horses, your gear, and the people with you. And the terrain can be kind of unforgiving. It's going to present enough problems that your entire week could be filled with problems. And those problems are either good or bad, depending on how you look at them. So, as the example, the chewing tobacco moment could have been good or bad, depending on how I reacted to it. And that is the way it is in Wilmore or in any tough terrain. On the daily or every hour, you're going to be facing something that could go fully sideways. Chance, you and I were kind of laughing we did a little video call yesterday to make sure that our comms were good for this particular podcast. And you and I were laughing about how when I was out in Wilmore, we were facing a raging river. And I mean, like, it was bonkers fast. And, someone threw a rope over, someone swam the river, tied it to a tree, and now we're crossing a river. And the river was so fast, I was watching men go across the river, hanging on to the rope, and their bodies were sideways in the river, just trying to be dragged down river. And I thought, wow, this is a lot. Because I was the only kid there. And I was watching all these adults do adult things. And I thought, well, it must be safe if, whoa. And there went one of the guys. And so as he disappeared down the river, I just started running down the bank and trying to chase this guy, not to save him, but to see what the heck is even going on. He was lucky. He managed to get stopped in a big old root ball of a fallen down tree. So scrambled down the log, grabbed him, pulled him back, and he looked like he'd just gone through it, because he had. And I thought, wow, we got lucky there. And that is Wilmore. Wow, we got lucky there. Wow, we got lucky there. There's lots of times when you'll get lucky, and sometimes you won't, and that'll be the lesson. Now, I'm not saying it has to be tragic, but you get out there in the wild terrain, and it is not going to be an easy day. You're going to face hardship, and that hardship is precisely what you're there for. The raging, freezing river is why you're there. The difficulty of gutting all the fish. That's why you're there. These opportunities aren't just about riding a horse. It's about the horse and the hardships that you'll have to face. So I'm not trying to say that city slickers don't know anything. I'm a city slicker comparatively, but the getting out there in the bush, the hard bush with a horse is just chock a block full of lessons if you pay attention.
100%. Dallas, you got any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, like I said before, the rites of passage that you're going to experience just due to the nature of what you're doing are going to come unplanned. You don't even know what they're going to be. But one thing I did want to mention is the feeling you get. I'm not sure if you guys have experienced it recently or whatever, but maybe next time you do pay attention, is when you are outside of cell service. The feeling you get when there's no cellular service and you kind of step out into the wilderness, and whether it's just you or whether it's you and a couple people or a large group, whatever, but that feeling you get when you no longer have cell service, it's like taking your seatbelt off while you're giving her 180 down the highway kind of thing. Like it's such a freeing sensation, knowing that nothing can bother you. Like there's nobody going to call you or no messages to check, but there's also that kind of fear, like, okay, like I'm taking the safety belt off now, like we are on our own. If something happens, I have to deal with it, and nobody's going to save me but me. And it's super liberating. And that's something I think veterans can definitely get from heading out to the mountains on horseback, is just shutting that cell phone off and then knowing or gaining that little bit of resilience, knowing that they have to take care of something, not only themselves, but any trouble that kind of comes down the trail. They got to deal with it, like there's no call somebody, there's no bailout, like you're it.
Yeah. It's funny. I wrote down, it's kind of an interesting duality, and I want to touch on this real quickly here, is the world doesn't exist, but because the only world that exists is right in front of you, right? So the rest of it, all the people on the rest of the planet and all the things, the timings and the cell phones and the airplanes and all the stuff no longer exists. It is just you and your crew, or you and your horses, or just you and your rifle, or whatever it is you're doing out there.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
What do you
it's special.
It really is. Shaun, you got any thoughts on this?
Just that I echo exactly what was just said. If you have no one else to rely on but yourself, the horse, and the people who are immediately with you, then guess what? You're about to learn how small teams work, how you work within a small team, who you are as a person in the moment. By the way, not just who you are in the moment, but who you are tomorrow as well, because that might change out there. When it gets colder and wetter, you might change as a human being because it's a little more uncomfortable. And so you get to learn about yourself. The horse will teach you the next day whether you're being uncool because it's cold and wet. And so I love the fact that these small moments will tell you a lot about yourself when you don't have any other distractions other than the life or the moment directly in front of you. I'd like to talk about FNV Ranch specifics now. Perhaps a little bit about its precise location, or as close as you can sort of deliver details on where it's at, what your plans are for this year, how people can get engaged in the process, as it were, maybe what your future thoughts are for years to come, etc.
Yeah, for sure. So we're located in Edson, Alberta. We're actually 10 minutes west of Edson towards Jasper. We have 2 pack trips planned for this year, and there is 3 people on the first one and 5 people on the second one. The first pack trip is going to leave camp at June the 19th, and we're heading to Nordegg area, like Rocky Mountain House Nordegg, with Ram River Outfitters. The program is 7 days long. So the first 2 days, we got a bit of a ground school. People meet their horses. We have a little bit of equine therapy. And then on the third day, we head out into the hills up to a top camp. and then we kind of do day rides out of there and some more equine therapy. Something I'll say about the equine therapy practices that we have in place. Each equine therapy activity we have teaches a horsemanship skill. So everything that you are going to learn as an equine therapy tool in the toolbox, it's going to be something that you can use on the trail to kind of communicate with your horse and to improve your horsemanship. The second pack trip is going to be in the Brule area. It's with Horseback Adventures, and we're heading out into not quite the Wilmore Wilderness, but pretty close to it. And that it'll follow the same type of schedule that we had for the first pack trip. Something to be said about next year, funding dependent. We want to run 4 pack trips next year. Selection for those will start in September, and it'll stay open probably for 3 months, so probably till the end of or till New Year's. And then at that point we go through all the selection criteria. Like there's an application process, but then there is a couple online surveys and a VTC interview, and then we kind of go through a rubric of how the participants did in the rubric, and then we make our selections based on that, and then we inform everybody, and then it's off to the races as soon as funding comes in. So funding, this is a completely no cost to the veteran because it's a therapy program. We felt that charging guys like money to come on the program, I thought really missed what we were trying to deliver. And so we offer this pack trip program at completely no cost to the veteran or first responder for that matter. And we're just really excited to have people come out and experience what we've experienced. We want to share our experiences and share some of the tools that we've gained through doing this. And we're really looking forward to meeting everybody that's going to go through the process with us.
And I bet that process, like, not only teaches them about themselves, but it teaches everybody about everybody else, right? Like, you get to be part of that small team. You get to meet not just new people, but like you get to really connect with those people over the days. And it's very, it's just, they're awesome. They're awesome. Getting out on a retreat like that with other veterans and getting out into the middle of nowhere is just wonderful. Now, I have one question on the selection itself.
Yes, sir.
But also, you have a fundraiser coming up, right, with the other Dallas, the other Softcom Dallas. Tell us a little bit about that as well.
Okay, so the selection process does a couple things for us. One, it kind of lets us know how guys are doing prior to coming on the program. There's several questions in the application process that kind of fill out the rubric that we put forth. But we do have a fundraiser coming up. We have July the 1st, Dallas Alexander is going to be playing at the Edson Legion. Tickets are $25. You can either get them on the poster or you can get them on through the website at fnvranch.com. And we're excited to get Dallas out here and hear some of his tunes. Really good dude. He's got a really great band. And he's got another member that I served with is the drummer. Matt Rogue is his name. And so we all kind of serve together. It's going to be an exciting event, and all proceeds go to FNV Ranch to get these veterans out on horseback in the backcountry.
That's outstanding. Shaun, you got anything?
Well, I love it. And so all we need to know at this point is how do we also help support in the future, near future, mid future, in respect to either the event on the first or further events, so that we can keep people in in the loop, as it were, as to what you've got going on, because these kind of initiatives aren't low cost. And I think it's awesome that you are doing it at no cost to the veterans that are showing up. So that is no easy gig. And so, the job is already hard enough to do what you're doing, but then to deal with the finances, it makes it double hard. So my hat's off to you.
Oh, thank you. Well, people can look us up on Facebook or Instagram under FNV Ranch. And we do have a couple gatherings planned for this year as well. So if people can't make it out to the concert, then they can stay tuned for some of the gatherings. We're also paired with Rock Lake Earth Lodge, and they have opened their facility up to us to have gatherings out there. And there's a couple other people that, we're in the works for getting a gathering going, just so people can come out, meet the vets. They can meet us, the founders of FNV Ranch, and see if this is kind of something that they want to pursue, and learn a little bit more about it, maybe learn a little bit about themselves, and meet some great people. But as you said, like, donations are key to our operation. And again, like, this isn't possible without donations. We have several donors that have graciously given us some funding. But again, like, to run a pack trip, it's around $25,000 per pack trip, and that covers food, lodging, horses, gear, wrangler / cook, and flights and travel. So you're right. It's not cheap, and it is kind of one of those things that, like, it doesn't happen without some good donors. So we appreciate, like, I definitely appreciate you guys having me on your podcast. Maybe spread the word, and people can like and follow us on Facebook and whatnot. And then if they want to get involved with the ranch, whether as a veteran or a first responder, they want to come out for a pack trip. Like I said, September the 1st, our next bank of pack trips selection opens up. And one thing I want to say, though, is even if people aren't selected for the pack trip, they are always welcome at our fire pit. Like, once we talk to these guys that put in for the application, that is something that we tell them. Like, if they want to come and hang out with our horses, have a fire at the fire pit and just shoot the shit, they're always welcome at our fire pit. So that's something to be taken away from, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited for you, man. I've been keeping a side eye on you for the last little while. I'm excited to see where you're going with this, and the ranch sounds awesome. I'll have to come out and check it out and meet your horses and stuff like that, because that'd be a blast.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Both of you gents come on out, have a fire, and come meet the horses. You can run around with the dogs. Like, there's always something to do. That also being said, we require volunteers for various activities. And if somebody is looking for a volunteer opportunity, like, there's always ranch work to do, and there's always things to do with the pack trip. Just because you're not on the pack trip doesn't mean we don't value your attendance, and there's always something to do. So yeah, for sure, come on out.
Sweet.
I got a couple of things, because I know we're coming up on closing comments. Chance, I can see that look in your eye where you're looking at that clock. And so I just want to, first of all, say, let's capture some of the individuals or the organizations that have donated towards FNV. So let's get those in the show mentions, the show notes, as it were, for the YouTubes. And I'd like to ask Dallas a specific question now, not to put you on the spot, because that's not what it's about. But I got a specific question for you. I'm curious. Right from the very first day that you kind of envisioned the FNV Ranch, right till, this morning, over that entire timeline, what is the thing that has impacted you the most that is surprising? What did you not expect to be impacted by, but it has impacted you?
The thing that's impacted me the most is probably the generosity of some people that have put some money towards our program. So there's programs like Canna Connect has donated to us. So check them out.
Yeah, shout out to those guys for sure.
Yeah, Canna Connect has given us some money. Tourmaline here in Edson's given us some money. The Legion has given us some money. There's also some other organizations like Blackstone Association, V40
Right.
Foundation. So there are some charities that have given us some money. And the thing that's impacted me the most is probably the generosity of our donors. So we appreciate every and all generous donation. But also the thing that has impacted me is some of the reluctance that some people have to donating to a program like this. Being a veteran myself, I personally don't understand the reluctance, but it affects me. And so I try and figure out what their reluctance is and how can we improve the message so that they understand the outcomes that we're providing for veterans and first responders. I think that the messaging is key in that aspect.
It sure is. We're still trying to figure it out. I mean, the first year of the podcast was a freaking gong show because I was a lunatic and the messaging was like backwards to some degree. So it's a learned process. And I don't know. I don't know if you've got an HR department or if you've got someone who keeps you in check, because, sometimes we go a little off the rails on our messaging as well. All of this takes time, I do believe. And so I understand how difficult it can be. And I think you're probably doing far better than we are in respect to your messaging.
Well,
so yeah, I understand.
Doing the best that we can. I just can't stress how important this type of initiative is. It's a almost one of a kind initiative in Canada, and I think it fills a niche that is really required with veterans and first responders. And I think the benefits are immeasurable. Like this is something that really I know it's helped myself. I've also got one of the other directors of the ranch has done Horses and Heroes in the States, and the things that he has said about the connection with horses and himself has changed. It's saved his life, and that's what we're all about: veteran wellness and saving guys' lives, giving guys tools in the toolbox.
Yeah. I've been saying this for years, man. Horses and veterans we're the same. Like, you just gotta put us together. It'll help a lot of people. Not everybody, as I actually found out a friend of mine is allergic to horses, and I was like, okay, well, maybe not for you, but 99% of the rest of the people, for sure. Now, I just want to touch on a couple of these comments before we jump off here and do some final thoughts. Dan C. jumped in earlier. He said, I worked in a couple of locations where that was the case. I had no radio or cell reception. Backups either 3 hours away or sleep at home. You learn who you are quickly, which is 100% true. You will learn who you are very quickly. And then Satch jumped in here earlier and I missed him. He said, good morning, team. But he says, is FNV a nonprofit?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Okay. And then he asks how much funding is required. So you said $25,000 per trip?
Yes, sir.
So if you were next year, you're looking at 4. So you're looking at about $100,000 is what you need for next year.
Yes.
All right. Satch, there you go, man. If you're Satch is running across the country very shortly, actually, in a few weeks now. He's 4 or 5 weeks away.
Nice.
And
he's got some he's got some things figured out in respect to financing or these kind of initiatives. So, maybe you guys will be able to touch base later.
Yeah, that'd be terrific.
There you go. I'll hook you guys up, make sure everybody's in the loop. And other than that, let's get some final thoughts, Dallas, on anything else that we either didn't cover or anything about FNV Ranch that you want to let everybody know about?
No, I just want to thank you guys for your time, and I want to thank everybody that's listening and ready to spread the word. Like I said, this is a very important initiative to us, and I think it's fairly important to a lot of members that are going to be joining us in the future, and we appreciate any and all help. This is it's a good initiative, and I think it's one that's going to be around for quite a while. We're going to make this work hell or high water, so just stay tuned.
I love it. That's a great attitude. Shaun, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, I do love that attitude. You know why I love it? It's because precisely what we're trying to do over here. Come hell or high water, we're going to fricking make it happen. And you're just the man for the job, or you're the type of man for the job. With your background, I know that good things are going to come of this, of course, come hell or high water. So, consider me a fan, of course. But if there's anything that we can do in the future, we are going to be happy to help.
Well, thank you very much, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the one thing we know about horses and mountains is that hell and high water are a daily occurrence. So,
Absolutely.
So I'll leave it at that. And as we all continue to learn, build, and grow, we'll see y'all next week. Chimo.
Chimo.
Thanks everybody for watching and being part of the collective. If this has sparked any thoughts or resonated with you, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us grow and keeps the conversation going. We'll see y'all next time.